Hey everybody, it's James here from NeuralNet Games, and today we're talking Prosperity 1 hand slot items, and because there's 4 of them, I decided I'd go ahead and rank them from worst to first. I like ranking things, I think it's fun. I didn't do it with my other previous item discussion vids because, there wasn't enough items to rank them. I'm not going to rank 2 items, but I think, 4 would be the minimum. Minimum number of items to rank, I think. Maybe 3. I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Also, make sure and comment. Let me know if you like the format of the item discussion vid series. It's a work in progress. I'm going to keep taking feedback and refining it until I've got it dialed right in and everybody is really enjoying it. So we're going to talk about these items and how they interact with the starting classes. We're not going to talk about unlockable classes, but we're going to talk about each of these items, how they relate to the starting characters, is it good for this class? Is it bad for this class? We're going to talk about general context, what situations does it work in, and general power, etc. Okay, let's get started. Let's get to number 4. At number 4, we have the Heater Shield. And the Heater Shield to me is the worst Prosperity 1 hand item because it's got the worst ability. In Gloomhaven, there's a hierarchy of abilities. The lowest is healing. You've got to take damage and put yourself at risk before you can use it. Next is defense, shield. You can prevent the damage, but the monster's still there and you haven't done anything about it. Next, you've got, stun, disarm, etc., crowd control kind of stuff. That stops the monster from doing anything for a turn or nerfs them in some way and helps you manage them, but, they're still there. And then at the top of the heap, you've got damage, you perma-stun, kill a monster, put it in the grave, and it never does anything again. And so that's very often better than, using something that has defense. In Gloomhaven, you don't really need a tank archetype like you do in a lot of games. You should just go out, or you can just go out and, focus on damage, and dead monsters don't attack, so you don't really need a tank. And if you're really spec'd right, you can kill monsters very quickly, and, you can use your initiative to make sure that you get done what you need done. So let's compare the Heater Shield to the Hide Armor. Let's compare it to Hide Armor. Hide Armor, it has more charges, but it gives you 2 -1s. And also with the Heater Shield, 2 -1s into your attack modifier deck. With the Heater Shield, you don't have to worry about the -1s, and you get to choose when to use it. Hide Armor, you take 1 damage, you use a charge. It doesn't matter. There is no discussion. Heater Shield, you get to decide. Sometimes you may want to take damage. I won't get into any spoiler territory, but sometimes you may want to take damage, and so having a Heater Shield gives you that option. Now, how long is the Heater Shield going to last for? Well, not long at all. No further, basically. If you buy it, you're going to want to replace it pretty much at Prosperity 2, and 100% guaranteed by Prosperity 3, it will not be worth it. It's not like Eagle Eye Goggles that, are good throughout 4 or 5 Prosperity and maybe even deeper, right? And some builds, they can be good all the way through the game. Heater Shield is never going to be that for you, so that's why it's at number 4. Oh, and I forgot where I get to the next one. This is probably best with Mind Thief or Brute, although I don't recommend it for either. But if you are like, I want a shield, Brute or Mind Thief are probably the best candidates. Never take it with a Spell Waver. Never take it with a Scoundrel. And, for a Crag and a Tinkerer, it's mediocre. At number 3, we have the Poison Dagger. And the Poison Dagger is better than the Heater Shield because, well, damage. I think I elaborated on that quite a bit in the last one. And so I will leave it at that, but damage is better. It's going to be much more useful for you. However, this poison effect is generally not as good as you would like because you actually apply it on a hit. It's much better when you can apply poison with one card and then attack with your other card. And so unless you're doing you're bursting with a bottom and top attack, you're not going to be able to hit the monster that turn and take advantage of the poison. And so it's not that great. It would be much better to just have an effect that said apply poison to a monster. And the way other items work, I don't know why it couldn't be like that. I mean, it would have made more sense. Just chalk it up to probably too much to do for one guy. I think it would have made more sense like that. Although thematically, it probably makes more sense that it's attached to an attack. So it is the best hand item at Prosperity 1 for a long rest build. That's a very small... It's basically between this and Heater Shield, so I don't know. It seems a little bit redundant. But if you are doing a long rest build, the Poison Dagger can actually be okay, because if you can use it 3, 4, 5 times in a scenario, you're going to be able to output a reasonable amount of extra damage. And it works best with classes that are not doing AoEs, but doing attacking with like a mainline attack ability multiple times in a round. So classes like the Mind Thief that have a lot of bottom attacks, so you can bottom attack and top attack, or that have even, you know, multiple attacks within an attack action, like a attack 2, move 2, attack 2, or, you know, move 2, attack 2, move 2, attack 2, stuff like that. So this is going to be best for the Mind Thief, followed up by the Brute, because the Brute does have some later level cards. So if you've leveled up a Brute to 5 or 6, he's got a couple attacks that you can take advantage of, you know, using that poison and applying it and getting benefit out of it that round. At number 2, we have the Piercing Bow. The Piercing Bow allows you to ignore all shields for an entire attack action. And remember, that's for as many attacks as you have in one half of a card. So, you know, you can do a lot of work with this when you're doing an AoE attack on a bunch of shielded monsters. And so in certain situations, it can be crazy powerful. And you're just like, yeah, you're just slaying monsters. You're like, oh my god. And then other times you're like, I did not use this. So it's a bit all over the place in how you feel, but it does absolutely decimate certain monster types. And I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, certain monsters you can completely wreck with this, and they basically become a non-threat. They're essentially high shield, low hit point enemies. I don't want to spoil any more than that, but yes, this can be very, very good for that. And it's so funny because the item just doesn't make sense. So when I was playing this in 2017, and, you know, there was no threads or anything on it, I just said to my friend, I'm like, what is up with this bow? Because I was the spell weaver, and I think it recommends in the book to take the Piercing Bow. And I'm like, why? Why does the bow attack everyone and only work one time? It doesn't make any sense. Like... And then, you know, every time I do these videos, I go and I make sure and I do my research just to cover my bases. I have a lot of knowledge, but, you know, there's sometimes things I miss. And so somebody in the thread was like, this makes no sense. Why is this item like this? It should be one shot. And I'm like, yes, this person knows. This person knows. It should have been a spend item that added maybe 2 pierce or something to an attack. It would have made a lot more sense. So who is this good for? This is good for the Spellweaver. It's good for the Tinkerer. It's good for the Scoundrel if you have a knife build. It's the best for the Spellweaver, though. Absolute best for the Spellweaver. Also, it can be useful with the Krag card. It's not useful, really, for the Brute or the Mind Thief, although Mind Thief can make it work. Anyways, that's it. Let's get to number 1. Before we get to number 1, I just want to let you know I have a Patreon. I'm offering exclusive access to myself. Come and play games with me on Tabletop Simulator. Watch campaign plays that are only going to be for my patrons. They're going to be raw, unedited, with my thoughts. Hopefully not too much swearing. Me showing, you know, all these strategies and different plays and things like that. And also you get to vote on my next games. There's tons of benefits. Link is down in the pinned comment. Okay, let's get to number 1. At number 1, we have the Warhammer. Why is it number 1? Because it can stun a lot of monsters, and it's very useful, and its power is going to carry through many prosperity levels all the way through. Basically, it can be useful in certain builds. So let's take the brute for example. The bottom of trample, if you have boots of striding, you can stun 5 monsters with the warhammer and do 10 damage plus modifiers, etc. Any class that has multi-target melee attacks, the warhammer is going to be good for. Stun 2-3 monsters, that's going to be worth it every single time. And I know I say damage is king, but stunning is always going to be useful. Where something like the piercing bow, there's going to be scenarios where it's a sad trumpet, and other ones where you're like, I am the king of the world. Whereas the warhammer is just always going to be good, and it's pretty easy to pull off as well. You don't have to work super hard to get 2 or 3 monsters. To get 5 with trample, you're probably gonna have to set something up pretty well. But to get 2 or 3 monsters is gonna happen pretty much every scenario, especially if you're playing with 3 or 4 players. Really not that hard, and stunning them is very good. It's very good even with some unlockable classes. I don't want to spoil it, but it's going to carry its power through prosperity levels. It's good for a variety of different builds. It's best for the brute. And then, it's also good for the crag cart. It's not as good for the mine thief because you don't really hit enough targets with the mine thief. And it's not, you don't really want to use it with anyone else. Like Scoundrel's not hitting a lot of targets. Spellweaver's using, AoE attacks, stuff like that. Tinkerer's all over the place, and not super useful. It's not going to work for Ink Bomb. It will work for Flamethrower, so if you use Flamethrower with the Tinkerer, that might be useful. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thanks so much for watching, and a special thank you to all of my subscribers. I wouldn't be here without you.